Fulani terrorist that the APC brought him into Nigeria. Let us hear from them.
Idan ba gwamnati ta daure ma wanda yake cikin daji ya ta'addanci ba Allah ubangiji ya tsine ma Allah dauki rayuwa ta a wurin.
Listen Hausa.
Sani aka san shi da ita sai noma. Sani ba ta yi bindiga yake 47.
AK-47.
Illa ce bai da magera da zai kera bindiga AK-47.
AK-47.
Gwamnati ke turowa har muka samu. Mu kuma wallahi dalilin da ya sa billahi lazi shekara na 7 ina makarantar allo. Amma lokacin da na dawo na tsinci kaina a cikin wannan abu, wallahi ina mamaki kullum ina tunanin rayuwata.
If I'm lying.
Saboda mahaifana akalla a kasar dan banga da su.
What did this man say? I will translate for you. Let me read what this man said. I swear to the Almighty Allah, that is the government, that is APC government, so-called Buhari government, that is giving arms to us. Fulani don't know what gun is. We are only headsmen. Cows don't give birth to guns. I swear to Allah, we are on our own, and the government gave us AK-47. I am not afraid to say the truth. Do you know where they said that? In front of Sheikh Gumi, Abubakar Gumi. He went to the forest to go and meet the bandits, and the bandits told him it was the government that gave us the guns. We don't know what guns are until they gave it to us. That's why I asked you, if they're coming all the way from Mali and from Niger, how did they cross the border with guns? If you claim that those terrorism are from Niger Republic, so you don't have customs and immigration in the north anymore, and you're from the south and you're shouting one Nigeria, do you see the depth of your foolishness? Can you say it? When I say it, it's not out of hatred. People say, oh, I don't like his style of agitation because I tell you the truth.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending, of course, on what part of the globe you're hearing to my voice. I want to begin this audio by wishing you all well, wishing you every good thing you wish yourself. So, people of Biafra, I want to commend you for still holding forth, still being very, very, ready and willing to continue to listen to us. Thank you for all your support for Biafra and for the redeclared United States of Biafra. Yes, we are winning. Yes, we are winning. Winning, of course, winning loud and clear. It's just a matter of time. We're still winning. Yes, I want to bring to our notice, ladies and gentlemen, that this morning I want to talk about Nnamdi Kanu's judgment and the effect it has on the world. Maybe you didn't get that. Nnamdi Kanu's judgment, the world is angry with Nigeria. Yes, Nnamdi Kanu's judgment, the world is angry with Nigeria. Yes, this is a very bold caption, and truly it typifies what happens all around the world. Yes, of course, I have a lot of contacts, people who have been reaching me, declaring what a lot of people are saying, both within and outside this country. Ladies and gentlemen, even in the United States of America, they have looked at the judgment that was rendered by Justice James Kolawole Omotoso of the Federal High Court. They have looked at the manner Mazi Nnamdi Kanu trial and mistrial, was orchestrated in Nigeria, and they have shaken their heads in disbelief. In fact, a lot of people are saying, how can this be possible in 2025? How can justice be, stood head down? I mean, this kind of so-called sentencing, so-called trial and mistrial, and then sentencing is not something you expect in this world order currently. I mean, it's as if the rule of law have been raped, not just raped, massively raped, and raped and re-raped severally. It's as if, of course, that the Nigerian judiciary is not connected to international judicial practices. It's as if the rule of law and the 3 pillars of justice, equity, fairness, and justice have been, thrown overboard, because they couldn't imagine how a judge in the first instance would be making judgments based on hearsay, based on, unproven fallacious accusations, based on masked and hooded witnesses, based on propaganda, based on very clear, totally unlawful sources. The whole world is aghast. Everybody's wondering where Nigeria think this kind of judgment can fly to. Because of course it can't withstand any appeal. It can't withstand any scrutiny from the International Court of Justice. It can't withstand any proper scrutiny from the OAU. So of course, everybody is wondering why Nigeria has descended so disgracefully to this level. I mean, people are wondering why. Why now? Because of a simple man who had the guts to talk about the plight of his people. Because of a Christian who said enough was enough. His people had a right to live and let live. Because a man was bold enough to tell truth to the authority, telling them how they have treated their people unfairly, subjugated their people, marginalized their people, and continue to make them live a very unpalatable and totally unacceptable way of life. I mean, people are treated like a defeated people in a war that was adjudged no victor, no vanquished. The whole world was aghast. I mean, what was Justice James Kalawolo Motosho thinking when he first of all, declared that Mazen Kanu should be taken out of the court? Take him out of the court. And you read, judgment in such a high-profile case behind the so-called accused. That in itself is totally against the rule of law. Yes, to some extent, it can be accepted if there's any proven case of contempt of court or any other, judicial malpractice. No, but this one, the gentleman only asked you, hello, you want to pronounce judgment. You don't want me to give my final submissions. You want to pronounce judgments. On what authority do you want to pronounce that judgment? Tell me the laws that are holding me. Most of the so-called whatever you think you are using to base these charges, of course, they have been repealed way back. Under what law are you holding me? What law are you raising your charges on? Because the gentleman was able to say this because he looked at the judge and said it out. You now threw him out. Threw him out, showing that you are the judge. Where did he have such powers from? Ladies and gentlemen, America is angry. The 45th and 47th President of America is angry. American legislators are angry. American freedom lovers are angry with Nigeria. And they have said, no, this is totally unacceptable. This does not meet any judicial scrutiny at all, either locally or internationally. Of course, they said Justice James Kolawole Motosho appeared to have an agenda, prejudiced agenda. He was biased from onset, and he was reading a script that had been dictated for him. And they said the judge who was given a life sentence to a freedom preacher, a man who, was peaceful, his conduct, and who dared, to say enough was enough because of the plight of his people. But that does not in any way warrant terrorism. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, the European Parliament, even international observers from Canada have said no. Mazi, that they say there, that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is not a terrorist. The ones they know as terrorists are the Boko Haram people, the Fulani jihadists, and the Lakarawas, and all those who are being supported by Sheikh Gumi. Yeah, so Gumi is making Nigerian government, to negotiate with and to continue to pay ransom to. He said, how can you pay ransom to terrorists? How can a government negotiating with terrorists? And then you see a freedom fighter, a man who is talking, agitating for a better life for his people, and you call him a secessionist and a terrorist, and you are giving him life sentence. They said that is totally a misnomer of justice. Yes, it's a misnomer of justice. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to assure every one of us that this so-called life sentence stamped on a Muslim leader, Onyendu Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, would not hold water. We see it as just a mere chasing after wind, because of course Mazen Nnamdi Kanu has not killed anyone. Nnamdi Kanu has not shot anyone. Nnamdi Kanu has not bombarded anyone. He was never physically present in any of the places they were accusing him. He was never at any point. At any point did he shoot at any person. He was not seen with AK-47 guns. He was not seen with bomb-making devices. All they saw in his suitcases that they brought as evidence were boxers, pants, hair creams, combs, and roll-ons, body, private and personal belongings like towels and iron shirts and all that. When did pajamas become exhibits in court? When was it bad to have boxers and pajamas? That is very, very unfortunate. And I make bold to say the whole world has looked into it and said, no, Nigeria, we went too far this time. This so-called Justice James Kolawole Motosho, why is he always involving himself in all this shenanigans? Judicial shenanigans. Every time he makes judgments, especially with his antecedents in River State. Yes, River State during the brouhaha between the Wike Godfather and governorship relationship, Godfather and Godson relationship. I mean, we saw Justice James Kolawole Motosho being very vibrant in all extreme manners of, judgments, including expert emotions, including all manners of, things, judicial pronouncements that didn't add up at all, that are not in conformity with normal judicial practices. Ladies and gentlemen, this so-called judgment, clamping life sentence on Nnamdi Kanu, and immediately stampeding him, stamped, sealed, and delivered to Sokoto State, to be a guest of the Sultan of Sokoto, was completely out of order. It was completely out of taste, and the whole world is watching. The whole world is watching. Fellow Biafran, the truth about the matter is that they use Nnamdi Kanu's, their attempt or their hope, but they're using this Nnamdi Kanu's life sentence. They thought when they proclaim it, they thought when they enact it, they thought when they give such judgment and bundle him down to Sokoto that Biafrans would shut up. They thought that would kill the Biafran spirit. They thought that would nail the coffin of Biafrans. But of course, what they didn't know was that, of course, Biafra was not a personality. Biafra does not have a leader, as in the sense of, if it's not this man, if it is not this woman, it is a dead movement. No. Ladies and gentlemen, where they're getting it wrong is, even if they like, let them give 200 life sentences to 200 Nnamdi Kanus. If they like, let them hold 1,000, 1 million Simon Ekpas in Finland. If they like, let them say all they are saying. The truth of the matter is that Biafra is alive. Biafra is alive. Biafra is a continuum. It never evaporates. It never ceases. It never stops. It has moved from generation onto generation. It has continued to succeed and survive itself. Ladies and gentlemen, with the Biafran War of 1967, 68, 69, 70, where children were forced to develop kwashiorkor, where people were dealt with, where over 4 million deaths were recorded, where it seemed like it was a genocide against the Igbos because of nothing they knew about, only because of power hunger, bloodthirsty Nigerians, especially from the north, and then eventually the Nigerian military, who attempted to wipe out, completely delete the Biafran people. They couldn't succeed. Yes, there was a blockade on the air, a blockade on the sea, a blockade on the land, but still they didn't overpower these people. And Biafrans held them to a standstill with the little ammunition we could develop, with the little structures we could create on ourselves. Our scientists did a real man's job, worked overnight, and clearly would have held Nigerian government, standstill, if not, of course, because of saboteurs within the Biafra enclave. Ladies and gentlemen, the whole world is aghast. I'm totally unhappy with Nigeria because, of course, they have seen that in the Nigerian judiciary, of course, it is the highest bidder who gets judgment, who gets a favorable judgment. They have seen that Nigeria's judgment is for sale. They have seen that Nigerians pay for justice and the highest bidder gets it all. But my dear people of Biafra, that is not the end of it. It doesn't matter if you can bribe a justice today. It doesn't matter if you can bribe to get judgment in your favor. It doesn't matter if you think you can manipulate justice system all the time. The truth of the matter is that there are international court of justices. There are appeal procedures. There are international conventions. There are international recognized conventions. There are people who, even outside this country, are interested in matters that concern the rule of law, that concerns the fundamental human rights of people, that concern, this so-called secessionist and terrorist charges that nations, heap on their citizens. There are people who work there. They call them international observers. There are people who work to make sure the right processes, rule of law is followed, to make sure fundamental human rights are observed, to make sure that such accused people get a fair hearing. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no fair hearing in Nnamdi Kanu's case. There's no rule of law that was properly followed. And of course, his fundamental rights, human rights, enshrined in the Constitution, were totally, abysmally, neglected. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, the truth remains sacrosanct. Whatever Nigeria has done, whatever judgments Justice James Kolawole Motosho think he has succeeded in heaping on the head of Nnamdi Kanu, hitting him with life sentence and telling him again, I hope you heard that, telling him again that he should consider himself a lucky man indeed, because he was lenient, he was magnanimous to him. Justice James Kolawole Motosho said Nnamdi Kanu should have been thankful that he didn't give him a death sentence. What he did, failing, of course, to defend himself for the 7 charges and being found guilty for 7 charges, that it was enough to give him a death sentence. He said Nnamdi Kanu should be thankful and prayerful that yes, you were given a life sentence and not a death sentence. Ladies and gentlemen, when you look at what happens in this country, especially the justice system, you begin to wonder where we're headed to. I mean, we all know about the case of a Christian who was sentenced to life imprisonment because, of course, he dared to fight back. He struck a Fulani jihadist who came and destroyed his farm, who destroyed his community, who killed his wife, raped his children, and maimed his relatives. Sunday, the gentleman, Mr. Sunday, was immediately arraigned and given a life sentence for daring to touch a Fulani jihadist, for daring to revenge, daring to attack a Fulani jihadist. Even if he had killed his family, even if he had burnt his farm, that man was given life sentence. In fact, he was given a death sentence. They said he has to pay with his life. It didn't matter what the Fulani did to you. And so the whole world is wondering, why two justice system? Why one for the Fulani jihadist that is light, that is considerate, and that preaches rehabilitation, that preaches forgiveness, that preaches reintegration, and that preaches giving them stipend or encouraging them to join the Nigerian armed forces. These are terrorists, Boko Haram terrorists, Fulani jihadists, Lakarawas, people who have killed, people who have destroyed communities, destroyed families, people who rape, and people who engage in organ harvesting, people who abduct and collect ransom. You arrest them, you reintegrate them. You say they have shown remorse. They have shown remorse. Therefore, they should be pardoned. And of course, you now give them stipend. Give them stipend, and the next thing we'll hear, because of course they can operate bomb-making devices, because of course they know how to use the AK-47 rifles. You immediately integrate them into the armed forces. And of course, ultimately, they will sabotage all efforts to get other terrorists. Ditto to the Christian. His own judgment when he's arrested is terribly severe. All paraphernalia of justice system in Nigeria is employed, and of course they make sure he doesn't have a breathing space. Finally, they either give him a life sentence, kill him immediately, or they, they give a death sentence. But never have any such people be reintegrated or forgiven. No amnesty for them. A lot of people are wondering, both locally and internationally, why Nigeria justice system is this way. One for the goose, another for the gander, one for the Fulani jihadists and terrorists, and another for the Christians. Christians. It's a very flawed system, if you ask me. That is why the whole world is totally, against this so-called judgment. Just so-called judgment, where Nnamdi Kanu was given life sentence. The world is angry with Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, let's keep our fingers crossed. Already Nigeria has been described as a country of particular concern to the United States and to international world. We know when things like this happen, you know what is involved. The Nigerians have been told, Nigerian leadership have been told, do the right thing, correct all the anomalies, including your judiciary, including in the way and manner you allow Christian lives to be mutilated, to be deleted, and to be wasted without proper articulation of justice. We don't like what is happening. We don't like where this person is parted, a terrorist is parted, his wrists are parted at the back, and is given a stipend, reintegrated into your armed forces, while a Christian massacred, killed, destroyed, his farmlands burnt, his churches burnt, his women raped, and you look the other way. If we don't see changes, if we don't see meaningful changes, America's 45th president and 47th president has threatened there will be consequences. Consequences if they don't see changes. If BAT does not implement a new agenda that will guarantee equality of life and order, security of life and property. If they don't see meaningful changes, there'll be consequences, including military consequences, military intervention in Nigeria. The whole world is watching. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, to given a life sentence, is at Sokoto State maximum prison. Yes, where he's once again confined to a solitary confinement, has no access to his lawyers, has no access to his family, has no access to anybody. But we know it's just a matter of time. The world is awake. Every eye, all eyes are watching Nigeria. All eyes are watching. Yes, and I'm sure even Justice James Kolawole Motosho is no longer sleeping. He is no longer sleeping. I'm sure of that. He can't be sleeping with his two eyes closed because, of course, he has been used. He has been used. He has been used to midwife justice in Nigeria. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Justice James Kolawole Motosho was like an elephant that was heavily pregnant, and at the end of the gestation period, he gave birth to a miserable rat, a tiny, miserable, sickly rat. That's what he did. So much expectation by Nigerians, so much expectation by international community, so much expectations by the who is who in the judicial system all over the world. But unfortunately, he failed. He failed to do the needful. He failed to do what was right. Justice James Kolawole Motosho, failed to deliver justice as far as Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was concerned, as far as the Biafra people are concerned. We don't know what motivated him. We don't know why he did what he did. We don't know why suddenly the man who said, I believe that's destiny. I believe that one day we'll all give up this life. I believe that someday soon I will need to write my name in the sands of history. And I want to be remembered for good purpose, for good reasons. That's what Justice James Kolawole Motosho told us. That's what he said. Unfortunately, very unfortunately, what we saw was a complete opposite of what he had promised to do. He not only Wrapped justice as far as Nnamdi Kanu was concerned, equally misjudged Master Nnamdi Kanu. Ladies and gentlemen, let's leave it here. The international community are watching, and Nnamdi Kanu judgment, the world is angry with Nigeria. It's just a matter of time, and we'll get more information about the consequences of this judgment. But for now, dear people of Biafra, let's remain calm. Let's continue to support Biafra. Let's continue to do the needful. We know Dr. Ngozi Areboeze is taking Biafra. He already declared sovereign United States of Biafra to the next level. It doesn't matter how many Simon Ebbers they arrest or incarcerate. It doesn't matter how much Nnamdi Kanu, how many Nnamdi Kanu they arrest and give life sentences. What we know, Biafra is our destiny. Biafra is our future. Biafra is the panacea to all the problems of the Biafran people. The USB, United States of Biafra, is our answer. God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Nnamdi Kanu is a clear example. In 2022, Nigeria's Court of Appeal struck down the charges against him and ordered his release. The UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention has also called for his unconditional release. Yet he remains in solitary confinement, in deteriorating health, and recently had to represent himself in court. Nigeria has signaled that the law is optional and targeting Christians is fair game. Just hours ago this morning, despite the pleas and cries of the Nigerian people and many Nigerian lawmakers, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was convicted on all charges. For fiscal year 2025, the U.S. has requested nearly $8 billion for sub-Saharan Africa. But when Americans see political prisoners, judicial defiance, and the slaughter of Christians, they understandably ask as they meet their own struggles, why should our tax dollars support governments that refuse to protect their own people? Is our aid aiding a genocide? Nigeria is a nation of tremendous potential, but that potential is being choked out by violent persecution of its Christian population. No country can build a stable future where churches are burned, believers are killed, and communities live in fear.